Hello? Are we here? Are we live? Are we live and direct? Are we live and direct? Can you hear me finally? Oh my god, this is not going well. I'm rusty, people. I'm rusty. Leave me alone. But anyway, sound better? Better? Yes. Okay. Apologies. Yeah, Shu's not here. I will explain in a second. But it's been a few weeks. How we are doing? Who we got in the chat? Herbal, Justin, Tyrese, Elias, Suge, True City Fan, Facts Over Feelings, Marshy Boy, I Am Guardiola. Listen, it's been a while. It's been a little bit. I will explain. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll answer what I can. But as for the time being, members who are in the Discord, I did explain this to them. If you're not in the Discord and you are a member, if you go to the members tab on YouTube, you will find a link to join it. But for those people who tune in who aren't members or aren't in the Discord server, Hugh, if you did not see his tweet, he's taking a little break, taking a little step back. For how long that is, not my information to share. I don't actually know 100%. But he will be back. He will be back. But for the time being, it is me. I want to keep things ticking over just a little bit. But he will be back. I think he was on LB's channel the other night. So he's just taking a little break. I'm guessing it'll be a couple of games, maybe. Hopefully he'll be back for Arsenal because that is the big one. But I don't know. He's just taking a break, but he will be back. But for now, you've got me. I wanted to do a stream because normally when it's just me, I do a video. I normally just do videos when it's just me, but because we've been gone for so long and it's a little bit, some people are confused and people don't actually know exactly what's going on, that I thought a stream would be better to answer questions that anybody might have. But in terms of the right here, right now, content will be flowing. If it's just me, it's just me. But again, he will be back. He's just taking a little break. He'll be back. We'll get on with normal proceedings. But, of course, as we're in the here and now, late night chat, your favourite, my favourite, everybody's favourite live show. Again, it's been a few weeks, and I do apologise, but, Hugh took a break. I decided to take the international break as a break. That's why everything went so wrong for the first 10 seconds. I haven't touched OBS, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I've been off. I've watched a few games, but I've social media, cut down on it, not been doing much else. So listen, that's kind of where we're at. We're at the stage where the football's back. International break number 1 of 3 for some reason at the start of the season is over. And we've got a few games coming up. Again, I wanted to keep this ticking over. I didn't want to just, let it fizzle out and let any momentum die. So I did decide to come back a little bit earlier. But in terms of, NBL, exactly, big up you, Murray. Huge Murray. He needed a break. Listen, I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay if he says he needs a little bit of time to, take a break and reset. I'm okay with it. And of course, when the time comes, we will welcome him back and we'll get on to normal proceedings. But as for now, we do have things to talk about. You've seen the title of the stream. Our favourite topic of the last 2 years almost. 115. 115 has come out the woodwork. We've got Brentford, of course, is our next game. APT case seems to, there should be some sort of announcement on what happened in that case where we sued the Premier League. So there's enough to talk about. I will start off with the charges, though. I did want to kind of at least ramble on for a little bit and let the embargoed section of the press conference play out a little bit. I don't think there was too much. I'm just having a quick look through. I don't think there was too much else in terms of charges that wasn't already said or obvious. Of course, you know my stance. Exactly. We'll be here when Hugh gets back. Welcome him back when he does come back. But you know my stance on the charges. It's the same as most people's, at least from City side of things anyway. I believe that when the club say that we have irrefutable evidence and that we are innocent and we have, there's no wrongdoing, I believe my club. I believe my CEO, my sporting director, my whoever, owner, manager. I believe that we have got no wrongdoing. If they are saying that, then I put my trust in them. They, of course, when we went to CAS with UEFA, and that ruling there, I trusted all the higher ups there and all the lawyers. I mean, we came out the other side and we beat the case. We beat case. We bust case. But with this one, everybody seems to be expecting that just with the sheer amount of charges, that we're going to be found guilty on at least one of them. And that at least one of them is going to land us some sort of punishment. And I'm sorry to say this for any rival fans who are expecting that. That might not be the case. There's a lot of charges on there. I haven't read them all. I don't have time to go and sit through 115 or 130 or 157 or however many charges people are, whatever the number is people are going on about now. I don't have time to go through that. I don't want to read all the documents and the documents that they originally released that they had to alter because they were wrong or worded incorrectly. I just don't want to go through them. But some of those charges, like the grass being too long or too short or too dry, it's a load of nonsense. It's quite frankly ridiculous. But listen, to talk on just the APT one first, because I guess that's kind of not the main one. There is obviously, this was from Martin Ziegler, who, of course, he was the one to break the 115 and all of this, but he says that a verdict on Man City's case against the Premier League sponsorship rules, PSR, is due before the end of September. Sources have suggested the hearing went well for Man City's legal team and expect them to score some form of victory in the case. So within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should be getting some sort of I don't know whether it'll be rule change or rule relaxation, or I don't know what the basis of a good showing is, or some sort of victory in the case will be. I don't know. We can speculate. But the fact that we've come away with something, of course, I think was it Leicester who had the Premier League's pants down the other week with their court case. They walked away with no points deduction, managed to, find either some sort of loophole or some sort of backdoor, which, pretty much embarrassed the Premier League because it's pretty small time compared to the shit that we're doing. But, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should be starting to hear, or we should hear the final verdict of us who in the Premier League, which of course is one case down. But the main case, of course, is 115, due to start on Monday. Thank God it is starting. I can't wait for this shit to be over. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal expert. I don't like talking about it at the best of times, even when there's two of us and, we have a conversation about it. So I'm going to hate talking about it on my own, but I can't control the news. This is what happened. And, one of the main reasons why I decided to include it tonight is, that press conference for Brentford, it was just after an international break. There's injuries, there's players who pulled out of international squads, and, there's certain things going on with certain players. I want answers to, obviously the one that was Foden, Rodri. Rodri hasn't played for his club yet. What's he like? Foden had to pull out of international duty. What's he like? Ake, how bad's his injury? Haaland, etc., etc. All of these, I wanted an update on the squad. And, half of the press conference was about 115. And it's just, Pep must be sick of talking about it. Because there's not much he can say, really, is there? Apart from, it'll be what it will be. I'm glad it's starting, but, we've just got to accept whatever outcome, because they're kind of all they can do. They can't, dispute whatever outcome it is. Of course, if we win and we get cleared of everything, we can maybe take it a step further if we really want to. That may be an option, but in terms of the actual outcome of the charges, once the outcome is there, once it's set, once we know what the verdict is, there's not much we can do to change that one. So, listen, we'll go through the tweets. These are from yesterday and the press conference earlier on today. The first one from Mail Sport: the hearing into Man City's 115 alleged breaches of Premier League financial rules will begin on Monday. This one from Mundo Deportivo, saying La Liga president, here we go, Javier Tebas. Tebas, everyone's favourite Tebas, right? Tebas. Nabil already beat me to it. And Tebas, this guy, right? This Spanish fraudulent geezer. I have spoken with many Premier League clubs, and most of them understand that Man City should be sanctioned. This guy needs to learn to keep his mouth closed. We've been beefing with this guy for years. Caldoon's told him to shush. Yeah? We've all told him to shush. Shush. Yeah? This guy cannot keep his mouth closed on us. He doesn't like us. He doesn't like the new kids on the block, let's say. He doesn't like it. Well, I have news for you, Mr. Tebas. Once you sort out Barcelona's wheeling and dealing and having to let players go on a free just to register new signings, once you sort out the financial mess that is Barcelona Football Club, then you can come and chat about other leagues. Because, until you've got your shit in order, my friend, those in glass houses should not throw stones. You keep your rules, regulations, and clubs in check, and we'll keep our rules, regulations, and clubs in check, fella. You run the Premier League, the La Liga, not the Premier League. That's fucking Dick Masters. You run La Liga. You focus on your own in-house dealings. Yeah, don't start chatting shit. Yeah, you've spoken to most Premier League clubs. You've never heard of a Bournemouth. You've never heard of a Brentford. I'm not having it. You've spoken to the big boys and they all said, yeah, let's get him gone. Telling you, ask him what a Bournemouth is, he don't know. He don't know what a Bournemouth is. Silly bastard. Anyway, enough head loss on him. Let's continue with the quotes. These are now into the Pep Guardiola press conference. Pep Guardiola on Man City's 115 charges case starts soon and hopefully finish soon. The independent panel will decide and looking forward to the decision. I'm not a liar. There are many liars in this country and in Spain. There are many liars. But I wait. We are going to wait and we are going to see. Pep Guardiola on speaking to Man City's players about the 115 charges. No, I said we're not lawyers. Ireland is not a liar. No, we didn't talk about that. What is going to happen? The independent panel, and we are going to accept the sentence. I'm happy it's starting on Monday. I know there will be more rumours, new specialists about the sentences. We're going to see. I know what people are looking forward to, what they expect. I know what I have read for many, many years. Everybody is innocent until guilt is proven, so we'll see. That was all the quotes from Pep. Again, Steve, I know. Why are they still asking Pep about 115? I don't know either. It's old news, and he said everything that you can possibly say, right? And Fraser, I see your comment, Fraser, about Martin Ziegler. He's just a clown. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call him a clown. He kind of knows what he's talking about, but again, he seems to have our club's name in his mouth a lot. I don't know whether he's on the side of the Premier League, but listen. Those are all the quotes from Pep, and I guess I can't really say much more apart from, because I've said it all a million times. All I can kind of say is just what Pep said. We don't know anything about this. This is going to court. This is private. This will take months. This will not be done until we might, be nearing the end of the season before we actually get this. Because I think the actual case, even though it starts on Monday, is probably going to take at least 2-3 months, if I was to guess, with just the sheer amount of charges and the intricacies of what we're being alleged with the time frame and, again, the amount of charges. So this will probably be 2 or 3 months. And then they've got to go through and once they've reached a verdict, they've got to, write it up and have statements and, plan the release of it. So this could genuinely not come till, like, the end of the season almost. So this is not going to be quick. We already knew this wasn't going to be quick, but the fact that we have a start date, a confirmed start date of, Monday, they are getting this shit, started and rocking, then all we've got to do is wait. Like Pep said, we'll wait. It's going to an independent panel. All we can do is sit there, wait for the outcome, and then just accept whatever, the outcome is, whether we're innocent or guilty. And then we ask the questions, of course. I'm still on the side and the belief that we are innocent because, what we are being told from our own club is that we are innocent. So that is what I'm believing, because I believe in my club. We've done it before, and I believe they'll do it again. But that's where the questions start to be asked. If we are innocent, then I'm asking, why have they done this? How have they found this? Why have they started doing this? I want answers from the Premier League, from Richard Masters. I know, Fraser, there's no future when the case is over. This is what I mean. If we manage to beat every single one of these charges, that man cannot stay in a job. Richard Masters cannot stay in a job. How can you have confidence of the CEO of a company after they have alleged that one of the assets, because, to him, that's what we are. We are an asset. We are a money-making machine, essentially, because we bring in sponsorships, TV deals, etc., etc. He cannot govern one of his assets properly. He has charged one of his assets over 100 times for breaking the rules when they didn't break the rules once. If that happens, how do you have confidence in this man? Heads will have to roll. Something will have to change at the top of the Premier League. You can't keep your job after doing something like that. And again, Steve, why have they waited 12 years? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm still kind of in one mind. I've said this a couple times before, and I'll say it again. I still think with all this talk about an independent regulator, the Premier League tried to do one last, desperate chance, last gasp, we can run ourselves, and then went for the club that the majority of other clubs, other fans, have a disliking to, which is us, which I get it. We disrupted everything. We won loads of trophies, spent quite a lot of money. I get why they don't like us, but it's very convenient when you've got Gary Neville going on Sky Sports and there's all this talk of an independent regulator, and then the Premier League, out of the blue, go back 12 years and went, oh, you did this 12 years ago. Your grass was too short 12 years ago. Here's 115 of them charges. We can govern ourselves. I still think it's a little bit fishy and a little bit suspect. There's a little bit of suspicion creeping in there, considering they're going back so long and they've only waited till now to do it. And again, I raised the question that I still think I know the answer to, and I think most people know the answer to. But if we hadn't have been as successful, if we hadn't won 4 in a row and 6 in 7 years and won all the trophies that we did, would they even have bothered? Would they even have bothered going back 12 years to sanction us over, pointless shit? Really and truly, I don't think they would have bothered. I think it's just because we are winning and people just don't like it. People don't like the fact that we're winning. And again, it's calm. I understand that. If you were a rival fan, you'd be raging, but it is what it is. Like, be better yourselves instead of, if you can't beat them, banish them. They're saying you can't beat them, buy them. You can't buy us, so they're going to try and banish us. If we beat the case, I don't know how Richard Masters stays on as CEO of the Premier League. I really, really, really don't know how he stays on. I mean, that's an interesting point you make there, Fraser. Martin on LB's channel already said Richard Masters got forced by red cartels and a couple of clubs pushing to charge Man City, and the Tebas shit confirms they are behind this. Again, that's what I'm saying with this Tebas shit. Tebas does not know what a Bournemouth or a Brighton is. He said he's spoken to other Premier League clubs. He hasn't. He's spoken to the ones that matter. He's spoken to the ones that want us gone. I'm talking about Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, all the big boys that want us gone. Maybe a couple of others as well. But he does not know what a Bournemouth is. He doesn't know what an Ipswich is. He doesn't know what a Luton is. He doesn't know them. He's never asked them, has he? They probably couldn't care less. Why? I mean, they ain't been pushing for it. Like, I just don't know. It's all a bit too coincidental that all of these things are kind of falling into place. Independent regulator, then they charge us. Tebas is speaking to other Premier League clubs. More than likely he hasn't spoken to all of them. Just the ones that, again, that matter and have the power. And it's all a little bit convenient. So I think that this, again, I don't think that us being charged is a coincidence. I think that had we not have won as much as we did, had we not been talking about getting an independent regulator to come and govern the Premier League and English football, I don't think we're charged 115 times. I really do think it's that simple. And I think the charges came about because there was a push for the red cartel, essentially, all the big clubs that had their hand in the Premier League pocket. There was a lot of pressure from them, which is what Martin is saying. There's a lot of pressure from them put onto the Premier League going, we can't have an independent regulator because they'll take the power away from our hands. So, listen, it's a messy situation. Again, I still believe that, I trust Khaldoon and Shinkman. So do I, Fraser. I trust Khaldoon, whoever else it is that's important, Lord Panic, whoever, all the lawyers. I trust my CEO and directors when they say they have irrefutable evidence of us not doing anything wrong and us not breaking the rules, and I fully expect us to have our name cleared. But again, even though I've just been talking about how, Dick Masters, he can't keep his job if this goes tits up, same thing applies to if it goes the other way. If we get found guilty, points deductions, relegations, fines, whatever, if we're found guilty, I'm asking the same questions the other way around. I'm asking Khaldoon, how have you let this happen? Tiki, all of these, people involved at the club. You've read the rule book, you know the rules and regulations. How have you broken them and thought you could get away with it? I want answers. I want change at the top. Ferran Soriano, whoever it may be. If we are found guilty, there needs to be questions asked. We need to ask the right questions to the right people and understand, or try and understand, how this went so wrong and change it. Because if the worst comes to the worst and we are found guilty and we do get punished, I have no confidence in the board. And I lose a lot of confidence in the board. It's not that I have no confidence, but I have very little confidence in the higher-ups in terms of the way that we're run. Because if they say that we've done nothing wrong and it turns out that we have, and they thought they could get away with it, that's a very, very big thing to lie about. So either way, whatever outcome, I'm still asking questions to the relevant parties and wanting some sort of a change at some point. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. And, what it'll be. And regardless of outcome, we're, in the eyes of everybody else, we're guilty anyway. So there's no point trying to change people's mind. We have Brett in here saying 115, enjoy cheaters. Listen, to someone like Brett, yeah, even if we are innocent, we're still guilty. Brown envelope thing, yeah? Brown envelope, we paid him off, paid the best lawyers, paid the Premier League off, got away with it. Because we had, we under the table dealings, wheelie dealing, that sort of thing, yeah? So, to most rival fans, even if we are found innocent, we're still guilty, so it's not the end of it. So I won't pay no mind to what anybody else says. I'm only listening to the Premier League, my own club, because they are the only club associated in this matter, and the independent panel. That's the most important piece. The independent panel, the people that are deciding what to do with this, the people who are in charge of the outcome of the sanctions, what they think of the case. Those are the only people I'm listening to. I don't care about Goldbridge going on and say we're in trouble, we're going to get relegated, and anybody else who goes out there and drags the club's name through the mud and says this, that, and the other. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you think we paid the Premier League off to get away with this. I don't care if you think we bought the best lawyers and had no chance of losing. I don't care. Yeah, all I care about is my club clearing its name. So I guess that's kind of where we leave it. I don't really want to talk about it too much. I mean, I've just spent about 25 minutes going on about, 25 minutes going on about charges. It gets hectic, doesn't it? You get carried away talking about charges, and it's like, oh my God, I can't wait for it to be over. But then again, like I just said, even when the case is over, it's not over. There's going to be so much fallout. People are going to be losing their minds, whatever the outcome. There's going to be generational head loss either way. We're guilty either way in the eyes of rivals, so that doesn't matter. And once the decision has been made on the outcome of the case, we're still going to have to deal with, again, the fallout from it. What happens then? Does City push it further? Did the Premier League push it further? I really don't know. I just... you're ticking off the days, basically, of what we've got left of this case, because it's just long, man. It's just long. But in the meantime, that is enough for charges. In the meantime, we do have to play football games. We have, I believe, another 7 games before another international break, which is phenomenal, really. I mean, let's just get one thing clear. Whoever's idea it was to put 3 international breaks back to back to back, one at the start of every month for the first 3 months of the season, when we've just had a tournament, really well done. You, my friend, are a great organizer. You care so much about player welfare. You care so much about the players' well-being and, thoughts and feelings and all their input. And the fans as well, who just want to see their club play football. Stop, start for the first 3 months, because some idiot decided that it was perfectly acceptable to have international breaks at the start. And Catalan, you're right, Club World Cup next summer, the expanded Club World Cup as well, with many more games, many more clubs. Absolutely outstanding work, FIFA, UEFA, extended Champions League as well. We've got 2 more games in the group stage, or the league stage as it is now. So there's more games there. Yeah, fantastic. About 70 games this season. Looking forward to it. Of course, I'm looking forward to the actual games, but my God, we've just had a tournament in the summer and we're still doing internationals for the first 3 months of the season. What is going on? That Nations League, yeah, one of the most pointless things ever to exist. I don't understand why they added it. No, I do. It's money. But in terms of from a sporting perspective, there was no reason whatsoever to have another European trophy, international trophy, on the line. There's no need. We're playing international breaks at the start of September, October, and November for the Nations League. Why? We could be using those 2 weeks that they do the Nations League. We could be using those 2 weeks to spread out games. We're in a situation now where we were offered to play the Watford game at home in the Cup on the Thursday if we changed it from home to away, which we declined because we wanted the home game. And Pep was like, no, we'll just take the home game. But we were offered to have the Carabao Cup game played on the Thursday because we are playing Arsenal on the Sunday. So we have Sunday, Tuesday. We have the Monday in between. We have 1 day in between a game, which is, absolutely mental. But no. We can't spread out those games because we need to play Nations League games. We need to have an international break and play the Nations League because that's so important. I just absolute. It's ludicrous, really. It's just lunacy. Absolute baffling. And then it takes 2 weeks out the calendar. We're 3 games into the Premier League season. We've already had an international break. I don't want that shit. I want to carry on going, man. I was enjoying the start of the season. But anyway, we'll scrap on that. Couple of comments here, Steve. The whole international is dumbing down and getting poorer as it's pointless. It just... International football is not fun to watch most of the time unless it's tournament, and I just don't know why they needed to add another one. Just it's pointless, and I'm tempted to agree with I Am Guardiola or scrap the Carabao Cup. I think for European clubs, because when the third round of the Carabao Cup was drawn, I don't know how many people watched that and how many people saw it and paid attention to it, but the way the Carabao Cup third round draw was done is that European clubs couldn't face each other, and there was a pre-draw to see whether the European clubs were at home or away. So they had already, there was like 4 home games and 2 away games because they did a pre-draw. It's a lot of bollocks, right? If you're going to have that much fanfare about the Carabao Cup with the big teams in Europe, and it's coming to a point where we have 1 day between a game in the Carabao Cup because of scheduling. I've heard this, pushed around. I've heard this idea pushed around so many times, and I agree with it. I totally agree. I think if a club, all the clubs that are in European football do not participate in the Carabao Cup, it gives the other clubs who are not at the top an opportunity to win a trophy, gives an opportunity to a club that doesn't really get Europe to get into Europe. You think if you take European clubs out of it, and then, you get the potential of that Newcastle Man United Cup final. Let's say Newcastle win it, they get into Europe that way. I know they got top 4, but, something like that of where the European clubs don't go into the Carabao Cup, and the Carabao Cup, obviously, the winner goes into the Conference League. it gives a club an opportunity to get into the Conference League and to win a trophy. So you take the European clubs out of it, so you're not doing these pre-draws, and scheduling isn't out the window. And that would be an idea. It would make the Carabao Cup a lot more meaningful and interesting, in my opinion, as well. Because let's be honest, big teams kind of just win it anyway. So there's very rarely an outside winner. I mean, we won it 4 times in a row. Man United have won it. Liverpool have won it. Like, it's just one of them, really. It's not been won by an outsider for a long, long time. So you scrap the European clubs, give someone else an opportunity to win it, and then that gets rid of the whole headache of we're playing Watford 2 days after Arsenal. We've got Monday in between, and that's it. So, like, I don't know. Scheduling is what it is. The international scheduling is horrible. I don't know who decided on it, but I digress. We do have, let me count, Brentford, Inter, Arsenal, Watford, Newcastle, Bratislava and Fulham. So, 7 games before our next international break. Majority of them at home, which is always nice. But Brentford up first. There's a few press conference quotes to go through from Pep Guardiola that I picked out. A few, interesting little bits. I don't want to go through the whole press conference, but there was a few bits. There was one yesterday from Joe Bray, from obviously writer at Manchester Evening News. Ilkay Gundogan and Kyle Walker used the recent international break to keep up their fitness by training with the Man City under-21 squad ahead of the first team's return. That was yesterday, I believe, that came out, which just shows you how hungry these players are. Kyle Walker could have easily moped around. I know I've been very critical of him, and I still am. I'm still going to be critical of him with his performances and his conduct and things around that, but it shows that he still wants it. He still does, to a certain extent, have the hunger to go again. He still wants to perform at the top level. He still wants to play games. He's keeping himself fit. He's going out of his way to keep himself fit, training with the under-21s because he knows he hasn't been in the team, and he's got his work cut out for him to get his place back from Rico Lewis, Gundogan as well, and he just come through the door, could do with a bit of fitness. So again, determination, hunger, training with the under-21s. It's good to see that they still want it. They're still willing to put in the hard yards and all the work to keep going. They want to win. They are just winners, and that is something that, of course, few clubs do not have winners. Unfortunately for them, but that's one thing. Will Kyle Walker or Gundogan play against Brentford? I doubt they will start. But again, it's good to see that even it's an international break, players could take it off. They didn't. They were on it, and they were on it. They wanted to train. They wanted to work on fitness. And then there's a couple of press conference quotes from Pep, but I will do this member chat. Where's the soundboard? Professional Idiot, good to see you, my friend. It's been a few weeks. How are you doing, my friend? Member for 4 months. Jeez, almost half a year. These lads are greedy for money, these organisers. Exactly. They don't really care about anything the players say. Players have been crying out for ages about too many games. Games are too close to each other. The season is... It's crazy. There's games every 3 days. There's too many. And the answer to the players crying out for a little bit more protection and looking after from these organisers is we're going to add another international tournament, going to play more international friendlies, going to expand the Club World Cup so you're playing more games there, expand the Champions League so you're playing more games there, and increase the games from about 50 to 60 to 70. You're playing 10 more games a season every season. Even though you said you're playing too much, here's 10 more games for free. Just off the bat, 10, 15 more games for free. Because why not? Oh, and here's a tournament every couple of years in the summer, so you don't even get a summer off every 2 years. It takes a couple of years to get a summer off. So here's an international tournament, so you keep playing through the summer. Now your season starts, you've got 70 games. Good luck. It's just backwards. It's just backwards. I love watching my club play football, but at a certain point, it's not going to be fun when the injuries rack up and players are are getting to the point of where it's affecting their careers. I mean, how many players have we seen that they've played too many games and they peak too early? I mean, the best example I can give of this is Marcus Rashford. It wasn't necessarily the scheduling problem. It was his manager's problem of playing him, and his problem as well of always wanting to play. That, Rashford played through injury so many times. I think he played a solid year with something wrong with his back. Like, he was injured for a year and just played through it. And then he broke his back, or he had a stress fracture or something like that, and he was out for a period of time. And he's not been the same player since. He just kept playing and playing and playing and playing. And you could arguably say he's peaked. You could argue that Marcus Rashford has peaked and he will never be the same player that he was, or that he was maybe going to be, because they played him too many times from such a young age, played too many times through injury. And that may be, his peak of his career done already. And he's 27? And they keep adding more games. Like, this is not going to have a good effect on players regardless. Like, the next generation of players are not going to cope well playing 70 games season in, season out. It's too much. With all the internationals in there, the international friendlies they mean nothing. You do not play for anything with an international friendly. Nations League, again, I will say it again, Nations League, waste of time. No need to bring in another competition, another European competition internationally. No need. You have the Euros every 2 years. You have the World Cup, every 2 years after that. You rotate the tournaments every 2 years. That means, one summer you get a summer off, next summer you're playing a tournament. One summer you get a summer off, next summer you're playing a tournament. It's fairly simple, really, isn't it? And then you've got all this Nations League and friendlies, Olympics every 4 years. So, I know he left now, but do you remember the situation with Alvarez? When Alvarez first came to the club in the treble-winning season, he'd been playing the Argentinian calendar, so he had played an entire season, came to us, no summer break, played an entire season. Then there was an international tournament halfway through that season. He went to that, finished the season, came back the next season, played a season, went to the Olympics, Copa America. I mean, oh my God, the guy didn't get a break for like 2 years of football. It's not good. It's not good. And they just keep adding more games. So I wonder, at what point is the breaking point? At what point is there going to be action? What action can players take to stop this? I don't know. You've had, Gundogan's retired from international football now. Kroos has just retired. I imagine Kevin De Bruyne will probably be, fairly close to retiring from international football. You got people like Kyle Walker, didn't make the last England squad. I don't think he's going to, have too much longer in international football. I mean, who else have we got? We've got people like Kovacic. How long is he going to stick around in international football for? He's getting on a little bit. So we've got a few, not too many, but we've got a few that, that's kind of the only action they can take really from, stopping themselves from playing international friendlies is to retire from international football. So it's just, it's backwards. But also a super chat from AK850. I had to soundboard again. Says, it will not shock if my mother texts me saying Pep put a 7-year-old on in the 73rd minute in the Watford match. Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me either. That bench is going to be disgusting, potentially. That bench, they could have a lot of youth players. Any that are still left that we didn't sell. Yeah, it could be disgusting. Like Pep said it, I don't have the quote to hand because I didn't really want to talk about the Watford game just yet, but he said something along the lines of, he's not going to play anyone who plays against Arsenal on the Sunday. They're not going to play against Watford, or they're not going to start against Watford. There's literally 2 days, 1 day in between. Like, that starting 11, there could be like a genuinely 11 changes. There will be 11 changes to a starting 11. Whether we have the facilities or not, there will be. Elway, Ronnie Foden in the 10. Listen, I won't be surprised if Kitman ends up front. Genuinely. 100% being serious. Like, it's ridiculous scheduling, but it is what it is. It is what Alexandros, hello from Greece. Hello, my friend. Welcome in, welcome in. I did see one before from Matthew Hoyle. If you're still around, just joined in. Where's Hugh? He's on a break. I did explain it at the start of the stream, but I will explain it again. I will answer. He's on a break. He took a break. He stepped away for a little bit. When he will be back, I can't tell you. I don't know exactly myself. I kind of have a time frame, but he'll be back when he'll be back. I'm hoping for the Arsenal game because that's a big one. That'd be a great return. But if not, it won't be too long after. He's not gone forever. He will be back. But as for now, the football started again. So listen, it is what it is. We got to get on with it. Got to make some content. Got to talk about the games, the charges, all the in-between things. Hope he's doing okay. He's doing okay. We've spoken a couple of times since. He's okay. He's okay. He just thought he needed a reset. He went on holiday as well, which was nice. He got away for a little bit, got in the sun. So it's all good. We're chilling. Well, I'll get back onto Brentford. Again, thanks AK50 and Professional Idiot for the super chat and the member chat. But anyway, let's return to the press conference. Let's talk a little bit about Brentford for the last sort of 10-15 minutes here. Breaking, Nathan Ake will be ruled out until the next international break, says Pep Guardiola. And as such, will miss 7 Man City matches. The quote from Pep be, "We are unlucky with Nathan and the international team. Every time he goes there, he comes back injured." A little bit like John Stones, but Stones managed to avoid it this time. But I don't know whether you saw. I didn't watch the game. I did see the pictures, though. He was stretchered off with a muscle injury. At the time when he did it, I did fear the worst. I did fear that he might have torn something because he was stretchered off. Normally, if it's a muscle injury like a strain or if he's pulled it or, something along that isn't too major, he can walk off. He'd still be out for a few weeks, but, you can normally just walk off the pitch. The fact that he was on a stretcher, I thought he tore something. I thought something had gone pop, he torn something. He might still have. We don't actually know what he has done. There's no mention of the exact injury that he has or when he will be back. Pep said that he'll be out until at least the next international break. So he'll be out for at least a month. So, not the greatest of news, but we do have bodies. We still have Kyle Walker, who's yet to start a game this season. John Stones is yet to start a game this season in defence. I saw that, I think it was Wilson Esbrand was back in training, of course. Doubt he'll really get a look in. Maybe he will against Watford because we're going to have to change players. But I doubt we'll really get a look in. We have bodies to be able to replace him because Nathan Ake himself wasn't even playing before the international break. He wasn't starting, before he got injured. So, it's disappointing still because it'd be useful to have him around in the squad as an extra body, especially with, again, I keep mentioning it, the Watford game, needing to make changes because they got 2 games so close to each other. But it is what it is. We will deal with it. We have coped with worse injury crises than this. So we have the players. We have the facilities to survive for at least a month. Of course, you hope nobody else gets injured because then it will really make it a headache. But with how well Rico Lewis has been playing, I'm not too bothered. Like this, Ake's been injured before. We've had Bernardo Silva at left back. We've had Foden at left back, Akanji. We've witnessed Sergio Gomez play left back, God bless him. So we've got more than enough cover there. We've got more than enough cover. Vardiol's doing really well, and I expected him to keep his place anyway. So disappointing, but I don't think there's anything to panic about. I know a few Arsenal fans are panicking a little bit about Martin Ødegaard's injury and stuff like that. We don't panic. We just get on with it. We don't complain. Injuries are injuries. They happen to everyone. That's why you have a squad. And a squad that we do have. And then the next quote, the final one that I wanted to highlight, which is in the title, breaking: Rodri and Phil Foden are both available for Man City versus Brentford this weekend, confirms Pep Guardiola. With the quote, "They are good, they're training really good." Of course, Rodri hasn't played a single minute of club football since the Euros. He played for Spain in the internationals, which I was surprised at, considering he hasn't kicked a ball for his club, but I expected him to be good to go. And then Foden returned to training a couple of days ago, maybe something like that, after being ill and withdrawing from the England squad. So listen, we have an almost fully fit squad. We're down Ake, unfortunately, with his latest injury. And of course, we're down Oscar Bob. He was out at the start of the season. We already knew that. But everybody else, as far as Pep has said, they're all good. They're all training. Savio was back in training. Obviously, there's question marks over whether Haaland is going to play. Obviously, he's sorting out some personal grievances there. We wish him well. He's been granted leave. If he needs it, he will, if he thinks that, he'd rather take the game off and go sort out a few personal issues that he's dealing with now, then, we've allowed it. I imagine he'll play because he trained yesterday and he trained today. So I imagine he will play. And I almost kind of want him to, because sometimes, when something like that happens, you've probably had it happen to yourself before. Sometimes one of the best things you can do is distract yourself. So, maybe he can distract himself by playing and distract himself with the football. I don't know what he's going through or what's going through his head. I expect him to play, but, calm if he doesn't. Really calm if he doesn't. I think that, we do whatever's best for him is best for him. We want to keep him going for this season. If he thinks he needs to take the game off, he needs to take the game off. But apart from that, again, everybody else, fit as a fiddle. Fit as a fiddle. So that's kind of where we're at for news-wise in terms of team news. Will Wilson Esbrand get a game? Potentially. I did say that. Potentially. Wilson Esbrand can cover Vardy until Ake back. Only a month out isn't too bad. I thought it might have been 4 or 5 months when seeing it. Luis Silva or Akanji can go there too. Again, look, I'm calm with the situation regarding Ake. It's the biggest profile injury we've got right now that isn't named Oscar Bob. But Bob's place in the squad was kind of on the fringes. Probably would have started the season, but, how long he would have retained his place for, I don't know. But with Nathan Ake, it's kind of, it's the more relevant one at this point with, with how well Savio's doing, Doku playing, Grealish is yet to come in, Foden's yet to really come in, Grealish cooking for England in the international break as well. So, enough covering the attacking positions. Gundogan, we've just signed, he hasn't started a game yet. With Ake, it leaves us a bit lighter, but it is what it is. We have enough cover. And Wilson Esbrand, look, if he's going to play against Watford, it's a one-off game. If we can't beat Watford at home, Championship Watford, which, I'm not saying they're any slouches, but if Wilson Esbrand is the reason we're losing that game, then we weren't going to win anyway. Let's be clear on that. One player does not change, too much, especially in a home game. So I'm not too worried. Wilson Esbrand picked up towards the end of pre-season. I thought he struggled early on, but in the end of pre-season, he actually played pretty well. He actually dealt with it and improved a little bit tactically. I did see about MCIBRE as well, Mark. There was a little bit about him as well. He's going to be coming in January. That is all but confirmed, pretty much, which is nice. Again, nice to have another body. I don't imagine he'll get any game time, if I'm going to be completely honest, because we've spoken about this so many times before that when a player, when he gets to sort of January, February, Pep's done all his tinkering. Pep's done all of his this player, that player, this position, that position. When it gets to Champions League knockouts, that team, it gets sorted, man. How many times have you seen us drop points early on in the season? We get to February, we go on a run, the team stays sort of the same, and we just win like 14 games, 10 to 15 games in a row. It happens a lot because Pep, he tries a few things early on in the season and he think might work and, tries out a few plan Bs that he might have and, tries to get a grasp of what he's got to work with and who's playing well and who's really gelling and that sort of thing. And then he just, February onwards, he gets on with it. So MCIBRE coming in January, he probably won't play too much because by that point the team is mainly settled and they've all gelled. He's going to come in and obviously he's coming in from the Argentinian league. Big culture change. Everybody's, already rolling. He's never played a game with any of these players before. I doubt he'll get much game time. It'd be nice to see him. Maybe a couple of sub appearances just to see him. But I doubt he'll actually get much game time. At least for the time being. And I think that was the plan all along, really. That, he'd come in once his loan had finished. He'd basically be like Perron, where he'd just kind of come in and be dotted about. He'd train. He might get sub minutes if, we've wrapped games up and want to take players off, that sort of thing. And maybe we look towards next season for that one. Grealish is a midfielder. He can do the job on the wing, but he won't get the best out of him unless he plays in the midfield. I kind of agree. Having watched him play in the 10 for England, he looked much more at home, much more comfortable with, wingers outside that he can link up with. It's kind of hard to see him play in the midfield with, De Bruyne, Foden, those two players being the main guys in there, but with Doku and Savio and, we've got some, two really good wingers. Two different profile wingers than Grealish who have been getting minutes and who have, been trusted to take on a new style almost of, of game plan. It's not something we're used to, having quick, technical wingers. But with De Bruyne's age and injuries and, again, the fact that we have two genuine out-and-out winger options that have been playing pretty well, maybe we see Grealish in the midfield. Maybe that's something that happens. Maybe that's something we can see. And as well, with someone like Matheus Nunes, I know he's a very polarising figure. People don't really seem to like him, but, when he's played on the wing, he's looked all right. He got the assist against West Ham, great assist as well, but that was off the wing. He's been trusted to play there before. And with Foden able to go out there, Bernardo can go out on the right. We've got enough wing players to maybe you can see Grealish in the middle. I think we'll probably see it at times, but I still think his main position will be out on the left. Matheus Nunes to wing season, let's go. Listen, I know it's a small sample size because we ain't seen him much, but the best moments from Nunes has actually been on the wing, so we know he likes to dribble. And that's the player that we signed as a ball carrier. He's, predominantly a ball carrying player. So maybe he can. Craft out a place on the left wing. He's played on the right a couple of times, but, mainly on the left. That is an option there. So that is something that I'm keeping my eye on. Whether Pep tries Nunes on the wing, whether Pep maybe starts Nunes against Brentford, I don't know. I'll get into a predicted 11. I was actually going to get that up right now. Come on, where's it at? Photoshop. It's still the flight tracker. Remember the flight tracker? There we go. Right. Photoshop. Here we go. Predicted 11 time. Yeah? Predicted 11 time. What are we saying, chat? What are we saying? As I was talking about Nunes, what are we saying? I want to get some predictions in here before I wrap up. I always love doing these. But yeah, in terms of Nunes, I'm interested to see what plan Pep's got for him. I've heard that he's been training well and that he's impressed, and Pep wanted to keep him. Looked good off the bench against West Ham, got his assist. Pep really, really high in praise with his performance off the bench. And if he can play on the wing, maybe that unlocks the door for Grealish to go in the middle instead, and you have a bit more, of an option in there. You get a bit more out of Grealish as well. Because again, I do think his best position is in the middle, but it's something that I understand is quite hard to see because of the options that we've got in there. So I guess we'll wait and see. But I do want to move on, sort of last 5 minutes or so, get some, predicted 11 and score predictions going on. I'll start with a goalkeeper. I think it's pretty simple. Ederson goes in, no questions asked. We good with that? I think we are. Don't really think there's any room for manoeuvre there. God, I'm so discombobulated with all of this stuff. I haven't touched my OBS, so all my overlays and stuff are backwards. The last time we did this layout, there was an aeroplane in that, or an aeroplane tracker in that. So that was fun. But let's see what the chat is saying. Akanji Diaz Stones Rico back 4. Interesting. No Vardiol Rodri. No Vardiol Rodri 16. No Vardiol is what you're saying. Interesting. Oh, I'll put Rico Lewis in there. I think he'll keep his place. He played really well for England. Ruben Diaz can go in. But I'm interested. Any thoughts? He needs a rest. Maybe. The Citizen Vardiol Diaz Stones Rico back 4 for me. I think Diaz and Lewis are kind of nailed on. Or they should be nailed on. The other two, I will put Vardiol in there. I will stick Vardiol in there. I'm just trying to remember what schedule we have. It's Inter Milan next. But I'm trying to... I know Pep doesn't think about it this way, but I'm going to think about it this way. Wednesday, Inter, and then Arsenal is Sunday. So Wednesday, Sunday, pretty big, pretty decent sized gap. But Inter, with the new fourth kit that happened while we were away, Oasis-inspired fourth kit. But Inter at home is the tougher of the two games. Interesting that you both said Stones, though. Interesting. Hasn't started a game for us, but started 2 games for his country. Interesting. I'm going to put Stones in. I'm going to listen to you both. You've swayed me. You've changed my mind. I was just going to go with the same back four that has been for the first 3 games of the season. Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, and Vardiol. But I'll put Stones in there. You kind of got me. He's got that match fitness though, and played a bit in the West Ham game. Stones look ready based on how he played in England. He looks fit for me. Yeah. I get it. I see it. I understand it. I'll go with it. You've changed my mind. You've made me think about it. I don't often think about doing these, and only just kind of click buttons. But we'll move on to holding midfield, CDM. Again, I think if we're going off the logic that Stones played for his country, needs some minutes, Rodri, for me, should start this game. We've got Inter and Arsenal next. We're going to need him. I know Kovacic has played really well, but we're going to need him. Of course, I will then put Kevin De Bruyne in his natural habitat. Where's his name? There he is. Boom. And then in terms of the rest of it, I'll put Haaland in. I spoke about him, so I think he's going to play. I think you can put Savio in on the right. Didn't play against West Ham because he had a little injury. He's been in training. Now it's just over to the left-hand side for me personally. In terms of what it could be, Grealish kind of cooking for England. Doku has been trusted to start the season. Would you potentially start one here and one against Milan? I don't know. Potentially. You've got Nunes, who played really well against West Ham. Foden needs some minutes. Could he be a shout to get in? Bernardo as well. There's a multitude of options here. Kovacic, could you drop him? I would rest KDB for Inter and play Foden and Gundo in the middle. You know what? Thanks for reminding me, the Citizen. I completely blanked, and he's on the thumbnail as well, but I completely forgot that Gundogan was even a player. I forgot he was here. I forgot it happened so late in the window, and I did so little content since he's been here that I kind of he wasn't even an option that crossed my mind for this game. He's just kind of mad. Anyway, I don't think he'll start this game. Gundogan. Potential to start against Inter Milan, I would say. But I don't think this game. I think this game... He's his debut anyway, his second debut. It's tough, man. It's tough. This is probably... this is definitely the hardest part of the season to get a predicted 11 going. Because we have so many games, so you got to manage the squad and play players in, you got to be smart with the way you play them. But for 2, we have pretty much everyone available, so who do you leave out? Who do you play in this game? Who's better to have, play in, the next game, which is Inter instead? And do you rest certain players? I might actually take De Bruyne out. See, the thing is, I'm tempted to do it because I do agree. I'd rather have him not play this game, but guaranteed to play Inter and Arsenal. But at the same time, Brentford, do you remember last season against Brentford? 2 of the most horrendous fucking low blocks you have ever seen. Like, honestly, it's disgusting the way that they defend. They're a set-piece orientated team, and they park the bus. I know most teams park the bus, but that Brentford at home game specifically last season was a painful watch at times. So I'm tempted to keep him in there just for creativity. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'll put De Bruyne in there. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to put Doku in on the left. I think Grealish will probably play against Milan. If I was to guess. It'd probably be Milan. And I'll give Gundogan his debut. You've reminded me that he existed. I can't believe I forgot my boy existed. I'm leaning towards that. Chat, how we feel? How we feel about that lineup? It's wrong. Now, I think Grealish starts. Fair enough. It's fair. That's fair. I'd back it. I'd quite like to see, if De Bruyne's not going to play, if De Bruyne is going to be rested, I'd like to see Grealish in his position, to be honest. If I had the choice, put Grealish in the middle where De Bruyne is, keep the two wingers with Haaland up front. I'd like to see it. I really would like to see it. But I just think that De Bruyne has to play. We need someone to unlock that door, and I think that with Foden just coming back, I think it'll probably be him. To play this game. See my comment on Grealish. Where is it? Let's bring that treble midfield back. I mean, it's hard, it's difficult. I don't want to change it, but I do want to change it. You know what? Peer pressure, you've got me. Grealish played against West Ham, didn't he? He looked pretty good. That link-up we had with De Bruyne is pretty good. So I'll go with that. Listen, you've changed my mind. You're successful. I'll stick with that, though. No more changes, because you're going to... Listen, I'm in Pep Guardiola settings. You get me to think about this, I'm going to overthink it. You keep asking questions, I'm going to end up with some stupid formation with about 4 up top and 2 at the back. No, don't. We don't need any of this. So that's kind of what I'd go with in terms of trying to guess. In terms of me being right, absolutely not a fucking chance. Pep is going to do something completely different. Probably work because it's Pep, but I don't envy being in this position. Normally, there's been times in seasons where we've been like, I don't remember the last time Pep overthought. Neither do I. But again, I don't envy being in this position. There's times in seasons, specifically towards the end, where it's kind of like this player has to play because we've got no one else because they're either injured or they played like 4 in a row or something like that. I really, really, really just wouldn't want to be in Pep's shoes right now, trying to pick a starting 11 players for a game when pretty much everyone is fit. Like it's unreal. Again, it's a good thing because having a bigger squad means we can compete on more fronts. We have more options if players do get injured or suspended or need a rest. But yeah, Pep Roulette is about to start. I mean, boy, pray for any of you in the chat, right, that are FPL managers that have anyone that isn't named Erling Haaland in your team. Yeah? I pray for you because trying to pick a City player in Fantasy Premier League that is going to play is some of the hardest things to do ever. I have Vardiol and Haaland, and I'm terrified of him taking Vardiol out for a rest. Like, it's crazy. Pep Roulette, listen, we could be here all day talking about teams. I think back 4 with the injury to Ake, there's not too much wiggle room, so it's like, there or thereabouts, but anything above that is like, you could pick any, like, you could change 4 of that midfield and front 3. And you could argue that it would be right. You could make a solid argument that it would be right. Like, it's incredible. But again, with the fact that the scheduling is so horrible, we've got, an international break coming up in a month's time. And in that month, in between now in the next international break, we have 7 games in like 4 or 5 weeks, then yeah, I'm glad we cut this squad. You know, as much as it's like hard to try and pick what team he's going to play now, you know, I'm still happy that we do have these options, because then we got Inter on a Wednesday, then Arsenal, then Watford, and you know, we're playing every 3 days from pretty much now until the end of the season. So I'm happy we've got these options after crying all summer for a signing and one falling in my lap. So you know what, I take that. In terms of score predictions, yes, Mo G's what we saying. I am about to wrap up. But how you doing, my brother? I see you. In terms of score predictions, chat, anyone still left in the building? Be interested to hear what you think of this game. In terms of the way I potentially see this game going, I think that we'll probably concede. It might just be me being negative, but West Ham scored without having a shot on target. You know, they scored. They'd equalised before they had a shot on target. We have a thing with clean sheets, man. Love-hate relationship. We have a good defence. We have good defenders, good players. But, for some reason, we still can't keep clean sheets. We concede without having, you know, the other team having a shot on target. It is what it is, man. So I'm going to go 3-1. Looking for some goals. If Haaland plays, I think he gets at least 2. That's my prediction. I think if Haaland plays, he gets a minimum 2 goals. That is my prediction. But I'm going to go for a 3-1. Because again, I've tried to back a clean sheet before, and I was successful against Chelsea when I did it. I said 2-0, and it ended 2-0. So, you know, it was fairly successful. But normally when I'm like, yeah, you know what, confident in my team, confident in my defence, confident in a clean sheet, we have, like, the other team has one shot on target and it goes in. Sometimes they don't even have a shot on target and it still goes in. So, you know, it is what it is. But we should be winning this game. We're at home. We're at home. Although, saying that, one little nugget before I leave, that some of you may or may not remember, the last team that beat us, Madrid doesn't count because it was on penalties to shoot out, but the last team to actually beat us in just a game, just, you know, beat us on the day, at home, was Brentford. We all remember it. You should remember it. Treble season. Last game before the World Cup started in Qatar. And we lost 2-1. That was the last time we lost a home game. I'm 99% certain it is, because I can't remember another one. The last time we lost at home was Brentford. Now they don't have Tony, and they're a little bit worse for wear in terms of, you know, the squad. They lost their main guy up front, but we know from last season when they didn't have him, they can still just make it an absolute slog of a game just by defending well. And again, they're a set-piece orientated team. They like to throw pretty much everyone up front for a corner. Some tall players in there. And of course, we all remember the Brentford games last season. Do you remember looking on SofaScore at the Brentford goalkeeper after he had a worldie, and then looking at his average SofaScore rating for the season, and it was like a 6.2, and he had it was like 5.8, 5.9, and 6.1, and then Man City rock up, and he's on like a 9.2 out of 10, and it's like, could you not, mate? And it was just disgusting. So I'm not. I am, but I'm not looking forward to it. I think this probably won't be the same as the last couple of games, but, you know, I could be wrong, because this is how Brentford play. I mean, I saw what Liverpool did to them just before the international break. 2-0, fairly easy, could have been more, should have been more. You know, Brentford played some all right stuff. They just had nothing in the final third. And that was kind of the what summed up their game against Liverpool. Liverpool were just too good for them, so we should be aiming to do something similar. And be very uncharacteristic in the fact that we don't start seasons well. We just we always drop points early on in the season. We need to avoid doing that this time and try and make it as comfortable as possible to try and get 5, because that's just... It'd be nice for a change, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to actually win one. You know, just go throughout, be top throughout and win one. Be nice. A while, but I can't really complain because, you know, we've been winning them anyway. But look, I say 3-1. Maji says 3-1, tight 3-1. Everyone's a bit too confident for my liking. But no, I understand the confidence because we've started well. Mark 3-1. The Citizen, I would love a clean sheet, so I say I'll pray for a 4-0. It's always tough even when we win against Brentford, but I've got the feeling we will be clinical tomorrow, hence the 4-0. I back it. You know, with the games that we have played against Brentford since they got promoted, since they were here, they've all been tight. I think it was 2-1-0s. They did the double over us when we won the treble. They've been fairly tight. I think we beat them 3-1 at home. It wasn't 2-1-0s. We beat them. We have scored goals against them in the past, but again, we won the treble and they did the double over us. Even though one of those games that they beat us was was the last game in the league season, and we had a bunch of kids out there and we didn't care because we'd won the league. They still did the double over us, and they were the last team to beat us at our place in regulation, at least. Because again, people love to say, Rodri's undefeated streak, blah, 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 Madrid penalties. Yeah, Madrid did beat us on penalties. But in terms of a game of football, the last team to beat us on our patch was Brentford. So let's not make the same mistake. Let's not do that, and let's go out and get 3 points. Let's carry on, because it only gets more difficult from here. Our next 3 games after Brentford, don't care that one of them is Watford. With the way that it's been scheduled, it's going to be difficult. It's going to pick up steam. Champions League has started now. Cup competitions have started. We're playing every 2-3 days. We're playing games every 2-3 days. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, thanks all for your score predictions. Roughly thinking around the same. That's the predicted 11 that I've sort of come to the conclusion is something that I'm going to stick with and just hope that I'm as close as possible. I'm never usually right, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really bother me. But that's it. I've been live for about an hour and 15 minutes. Probably be a video review. I don't think I'll be live. I don't really want to clash with any other games, content going on over the weekend. So it'll probably be a video after this game. And then we'll see what happens for Inter Milan. We'll see what happens for Inter Milan. I haven't actually sorted out my schedule or what I want to do. But, again, I thought I'd stream tonight just to try and explain a few things. Because, again, we've been gone for like 2-3 weeks. So people rightly had questions and would have wanted to know what's going on. So if you missed it, I did explain it at the start. So you can go back, watch it on playback. Or maybe explain it just in brief. As I'm wrapping up to anyone that's still in the building, Hugh is on a break. He said he needed a break, so he took a step back for a little bit, and he'll be back before you know it. That's essentially the gist. But we carry on because the games don't stop for no one. But that's it from me. Do me a massive favour on your way out. Please leave a like on this stream. If you are watching on playback as well, leave a like on this stream. I'll go through the comments at some point, probably tomorrow, for just in case anyone has any questions. But apart from that, my prediction is a 3-1 City. Again, I'll do a video after the game, and I'll see you then in a bit, people.